Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 7th of April. And just for a change, this is a session I'm doing on my own rather than with guests who would be very welcome, of course. But tonight I'm talking about ideas. And we have touched on it before, how authors get their ideas and what they do with them. And so I thought, and I have done a session mentioned Word Web, which I have a copy here, where you just do a bit like a spidergram, some people call it, with a random word in the middle, and then you could go outwards. So it could be top hat, then the film, and bouncing ideas off upwards and sideways. And however, just spend 5 minutes. You can draw it obviously on a blank piece of paper, put any random word, look in a newspaper or a book, look for a random word and write it down, and then anything, it's word association thereafter. So I've talked about that before and given an example that you can download on a Word document. I might do the same again for this session so you don't have to go looking. But there are various ways. It's a question that's often asked in a Q&A in literary festivals where members of the audience ask the authors where they get their ideas from. Now, I know from having spoken to authors that it's not a question they actually relish, because the answer is usually everywhere. You never know when you're going to come up with an idea. It's very rare for me to know where my ideas come from, even for my novels. So one for the road over there about a drunk driver, I don't know where it came from. And I could have got the book and read it out to you, but the beginning, the back page says that Liam Ross, drunk driver, Liam Ross hits somebody on a wooded forest road and drags him off to the side of the road, goes home, gets a conscience, comes back for him to leave him somewhere more noticeable, and the body has gone. Da, da, da. Now that's a great idea, I think. I would, because I wrote it. But then when I came up with that idea, I was then had to think, okay, so where has the body gone? So then it's my job as an author, as a writer, to come up with various scenarios and pick one that wouldn't necessarily be obvious, but one that would work. So part of that is what do you do with your idea once you get it and write yourself into a corner. But there are various other ways of getting ideas. And you can see on the left-hand side here, there are 5 in the series, plus the omnibus, the 1 to 4, that one there, of writer's block workbooks. So this is the first one. And this is made up of weeks. So it'll last a whole year, and there are 3 per day. So this is first person, second person, third person, first person, second person, third person, going over to day 6, and then any point of view. So for instance, developing the relationship was harder, ... You could have I, then I thought, or he or she, or a name. So you can use it with any point of view. And there are 3 every day. And so if you use 1 a day, the book will last you 3 years. If you use all 3, then it will last you a year. And at the end of each week, there's a writing tip. This one is balance of description and dialogue. We talked about that in a panel the other day. Ideally, you would want a good balance of description and dialogue. So in a sentence such as the man swore at the illegal driver, you could change that to dialogue. Depending on where you're aiming your writing to be sold to or read by, you wouldn't necessarily put the actual swear words, but toning it down and having a banter between 2 characters would heighten the tension, and although using more words would speed up that section of the story. And that's the thing. Description tends to slow the pace. Dialogue, apart from it being the character rather than the narrator, often speeds it up, especially where there is an argument, which is a great scene. So that's the first one, our sentence starts. Then the second one is, again, on the same basis where it's every week. So this is week 20, day 190. There are 5 random words to put in a short story, a novel, any kind of writing, a poem. So on day 190, the first one is stick, switch, messages, straightforward, and natural. And then the next one is idiot, circus, panther, credit, and theme. Then the next one, so still day 190, just the third one, names, numbers, beside, pad, P-A-D, and laughed. And then again, at the end of the week, there's a tip of the week. And sometimes they refer, so that was a random one, description and dialogue, but sometimes they do refer to a particular day. So we've got tip of the week, the 6 questions. And this is something I use for my 300 words a day podcast on Spotify. Currently only on Spotify. I do plan to put it elsewhere. Probably Substack. So it'll be interesting when we get to the newsletter Substack week to hear people's experiences of newsletters and Substack. So the final prompt on day 191 includes who. 6 questions writers should ask themselves about their story are, and in the 300 words a day prompt, the podcast, I give a random prompt and then talk about the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So who, character, where, location, why, dilemma, when, timing, date, era, what, solution, and how, plot. These key questions should form your story if it's written already, and check that you have all these elements. It's very useful. I'm not much of a planner. I'm what's called a pantser, so I get an idea and fly by the seat of my American pants. However, if you can answer the who, what, where, when, why, and how questions to your story that you're about to write, that does help you have some kind of framework, which is always useful. So book 2 is random keywords. Book 3, which is, volume 1 really is the bestseller because it's volume 1. And then people do go on to buy more. Or they buy the whole set, which is lovely. So week 3 is, again, set in the year format. Each open spread page is a week. So day 176 is character. So we've got too hungry for breakfast. So that somebody is too hungry for breakfast. A big fake smile, again, character based. The smartest card player. So those are your 3 prompts for day 176. And then day 177, we've got 3 objects. The director's chair, a used tissue, nice, and some tumbleweed. Then day 178 is location or environment. Wishing he were miles away, and that's subjunctive, hypothetical. He's not something, but what if he were something? What if he were miles away? Then visiting the same hotel, again a location. Driving on the wrong side of the road, as my husband Tim and I often see in police interceptors. Then day 179, timing. A centenary instead of a decade, so 100 years instead of 10 years. Waiting for the kettle to boil. Then using an egg timer for something unusual. So that's timing. And then plot, day 180 in this book. He used the payphone for discretion. Intriguing. Learning the alphabet backwards. What I would like to do, you may or may not have, if you're based in the UK, you may well have heard of Richard Osman, if not for his books, but also for being on television, originally Pointless, but also on his own show, Richard Osman's House of Games, which he's recently announced that he's leaving and will become Michael Sheen. Get the right Sheen. Michael Sheen's House of Games, which is brilliant because we love Michael Sheen. So day 180. So yes, one thing they do is they have numbers instead of the alphabet, and you have to guess a particular thing. So it could be a film, and it might have the numbers for J, A, so whatever that would be, about 10. A is 1. W is about 23, and S is 19, because I know T is 20. So I'd like to learn the alphabet in numbers, so that I, not just for that, so I could answer those rounds, but just a skill. So he learned the alphabet backwards, this one. Then finding an encrypted note in a shoe. So that's a plot. Those three were plots. Then day 181 is something random. Do you understand? So that could be a question asked to the reader, or one character to another, or said in dialogue, for yet another reason. And then this is dialogue: bark all you like, which sometimes I say to my dog. And then day 182 is a change. So your character from day 176 is too full for breakfast. So 176 was too hungry for breakfast. So change it that they were too full for breakfast. Then day 180's character is learning to write upside down. So that was the learning the alphabet backwards. So for this day, we've changed it to learning to write upside down. I can read upside down. I enjoy reading upside down. And then the card player from 176, the smartest card player. The card player from day 176 is really unsmart. And then the tip of the week for this week, we're using day 177's Tumbleweed, hints at the Wild West, so likely historical. You don't have to know your genre before you start writing, but if you're aiming for a novel and plan it to submit it to an agent or publisher, then you'll need to know what genre it is. Most books have more than one genre. A James Bond novel is technically a thriller, and the difference between thrillers tend to be set in different places. Crime novels tend to be set in one or two places, and also thrillers tend to be, by their very nature, tend to be more thrilling. So a James Bond novel is technically a thriller because it's pacey and spans more than one country, but there is a crime, often a bad guy wanting to take over the world, or at least his part of it, and to a certain degree, a romance. James's feelings, albeit superficially on the outside, for one of the many beautiful women he encounters. So that's your tip for that week. So workbook 3 is a bit of everything: character setting, plot, object, dilemma, something else. And then workbook 4, which is my favourite, and the one, if somebody says to me, which book should I buy, depending on how far in advance they are through their writing experience, if it's right at the beginning, then probably the first one, the sentence starts, because then it doesn't matter where they go from thereafter. But if they are looking to, say they've done a course, the last lady in the WI talk asked me, she wanted to buy a book for her daughter who was doing I don't know if it was a BA or an MA, or certainly a course in creative writing. So I said probably book 4, which each day has 2 characters, a trait, a location, an object, and dilemma. So really it's very similar to book 3, but it has more detail. So just picking one at random, day 190, week 28, we have a volcano photographer and a herbalist. One of them is ecstatic, that's the trait. The location is a World Heritage Site. The object is a cotton bud Q-tip. And then the dilemma is doing a massive search. There we go. So that's week 28. And then the prompt, the tip for this week is quite a long one, so I'm not going to read it all out, but it's something to be scared of. So I'll read the first paragraph. There are 4 paragraphs. You may not be a horror writer, but using the fears mentioned in these prompts will give you an instant conflict. How much you heighten that fear is up to you as the writer, and what genre you write, as well as your target audience. For example, you wouldn't have a horrific scene if writing a women's fiction story for a more mature audience magazine. So every week has a different tip. It was all a dream. So twist endings. Do not have it was all a dream. Bored with characters who are bored. Don't write that characters are bored, because, well, unless there's a purpose for doing so. But because that encourages the reader to be bored, but you have to use it wisely. What's missing? So we have on day 298, we have a missing piece of something. We often write about what's there, but rarely about what's missing. Even in an ordinary situation, it's worth thinking about what could be out of the ordinary, literally missing something. So that's book 4. And then book 5 is book 1 all over again with different beginnings. Again, the same format. So first person, second person, third person, first person, second person, third person. And then day 7 is you can use with any point of view. And tip of the week is at the end of each week. So those are my workbooks. And I've been writing those for years, actually. I've stopped, at the moment, I've stopped with 5. Nobody's asked me to write a 6th one, and which I may or may not. It would probably be something different, not necessarily a rehashing of the second one with random words, although that would be very easy to do. I've then gone off at a tangent. I do these for each year. So we've got 20 yellow ones for 2026, which I don't have with me, but there we go. They're available on Amazon. So with this one, it is being undated. You can start on any day because we just have week 1, day 1. And at the beginning, there are writing goals, so table of content, writing goals, personal goals, weeks 1 to 53. So you can use it for a year. And then a list of UK literary festivals and other events, overseas literary festivals and other events, which I've copied and pasted onto the Self Pub, which hopefully this is how you've found this, the Self Pub Fest, self-pub-fest.co.uk. Just search for Self Pub Fest, you'll find us. And copied and pasted it. So within information, there is a list of the UK festivals on one page, overseas festivals on another page from these diaries, because I like to help people. So that's those. And then we've got, after that, we've got where you can put your personal information. So birthdays, anniversaries, contact details, passwords, etc., and other notes. And then a little bit about me, which you may or may not know. So I'm going to read this out. Author of fiction and non-fiction, editor. It says ghostwriter, but I wouldn't say no, but my editor is a ghostwriter, so I'll probably point him on to you. Mentor, which I am, and speaker, which I am, and blogger and podcaster. I haven't put that in here. My website is morgenbailey.com, and it's Morgen Bailey.com. So I'm German Morgan rather than Welsh. Apart from writing, Morgan is a freelance editor for publishers and indie authors. She's also a speaker, mentor, tutor, and lecturer of writing courses, as well as a judge of writing competitions. So I haven't put judge at the top, have I? As a former columnist for Writers Forum magazine and Competitive Edge until it sadly closed, and former chair of 3 writing groups, Morgan has judged the Flash 500, the H.E. Bates, BBC Radio 2, Beacon Lit, Althorpe Literary Festival, short story competitions, as well as the Rhone novel competitions. I've got some others to add to that. Talks and workshops have included for the WIU3A, Troubadours Self-Publishing Conference, Delapré Book Festival, Norg Festival with her Editing Your Fiction residential weekend residential course. I've got a few I need to add to that. Bournemouth with one of the ones last year. Morgan can be found on social media, including Twitter, which is now X, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I'm Morgan Writer UK on most of them. On YouTube, which is where you'll be watching this, I'm Morgen Bailey UK. And then there's a list of my fiction and non-fiction. So that's it. So there are various handouts that I give out when I'm doing in-person writing workshops. This is one thing that I often give out, so I'll hold that up to you for a second or two, and you can always pause the video. I get a newspaper, which I don't have to hand, I have one in the other room. It's a normal looking newspaper called The Eye, and I like cutting out headings, and there isn't one on this one. If there is, there we go, that one there in that corner that says, "It was a love beyond the limits of patience and sense, it was boundless." And then other ones are Pieces of a Man, Beryl's Perils, despite the pain, it can delete your life. So aren't these wonderful prompts? Rural homes plan unveiled as average rent tops £800. I would say it's probably more than that. This is relatively old. So what I do is I then stick them onto glue. Very therapeutic when I'm half watching Police Interceptors and the likes. And so I'll do a bit of Blue Peter, if you know what that is. If you don't know what that is, do look it up. Blue Peter's children TV series, which I don't think is in existence anymore, which is terribly sad. The mood is one of fear. It's another one. What are you having for lunch? So some ordinary ones as well. And so I'll sit there with these cut out from the newspaper and stick them onto a blank sheet and then scan them in and photocopy them.
Alert from calendar. NAWG. Meet the committee.
Which it isn't. Have a meeting that doesn't happen anymore. That was at the beginning of the year. And another thing I do is, because if I'm going away somewhere, certainly within the UK, because this is quite big, is get a display book, one of these where they don't have any rings, but it's simply a blank wallet in, and I put lined, and you can see the lines, not terribly well, two lined sheets in each wallet, and then either write a prompt at the beginning or use one of these ones, one on each page, so I have a single prompt in each page. Then I can just grab a file and take it with me if I'm going away somewhere, like Swanwick, which I taught last year. I'm back again this year doing planning and writing a novel course. So if you are in the UK and can travel to Derbyshire in the 8th to the 15th of August, and then I shall be doing a planning and writing a novel course for them there, and I'll be there for the whole time, 8th to the 5th, not the 5th, yes, 15th, and or thereabouts, 8th to the 12th. It's Wednesday to Saturday to Thursday anyway. And yes, so that'll be the 13th, 8th to the 13th of August. Then yes, do come and do book yourself on that, and that'd be lovely if you wanted to do planning or writing a novel with me, which is one of the longer courses, which is fantastic. Last year I did an hour on writing competitions and entering and being a judge thereof, and two 2-hour sessions on editing, because that is my day job. So if you have any comment, do leave a comment underneath. Do subscribe. I do forget to say that. And Self Pub Fest. I have a leaflet here? I do have a leaflet here. So this is Self Pub Fest. So if you haven't, I'm trying to get it in sharp so you can see it. So there's the website address. We have lots going on online, but I thought I'd pick a nice quiet Tuesday where I could talk about ideas, and just everybody gets stuck at some point with ideas, and so I thought I'd help you this evening rather than have a panel, and so make it a good variety for you to watch on YouTube. So thank you. Again, do go to the website. There's lots to see. There's lots on YouTube. Just posted the 71st Author Spotlight, blimey, and with more booked in after the festival in person in Aylesbury. If you're watching this and you can come to Aylesbury on the 26th of April, do. Tickets there are still about 30 tickets, so we still do have a few left. So thank you for watching this. It's always lovely to talk about ideas, and I'm very lucky in the fact that I have lots of ideas. I could write a short story every day. And my favourite statistic, if you're wondering about the 300 words a day, is 300 words a day is 109,500 words a year. So if you started today with 300 words, you could have a very healthy novel by this time next year, on the 7th of April, 2027. Thank you for watching. Bye.